We are at Oldtown Square. And over there, at the pavement, there are 27 crosses. The crosses which are representing those 27 gentlemen who were beheaded at Oldtown Square in a year 1621 because they made uprising against Catholic Church and against the Habsburg monarchy. 10 of their heads they hung up at the river Vltava, the tower. They were hanging there for several years. First, when the Protestant army came to the Prague, they were allowed to take them down, and those heads are buried somewhere inside this church. They call it Mother Mary Church by the Teen, but the Czech people just call it Teen's Church. Inside of this church is also buried the Danish astronomer Podebrady. He was invited by Rudolf II, the Czech king and Caesar. He was living at his court, and they are saying that one day Podebrady was eating together with the king and Caesar, and then suddenly he needed to go to toilet. He needed to go and pee. But it was inconceivable that anyone would dare to stand up from the table before King himself would stand up. So he was just holding it till his urine bladder burst and he died. At least this is what they were teaching us at school. If it is the truth or not, we don't know. Anyway, he was buried inside of it, the church. The statue here is a statue of a reformator of Catholic Church, John Huss. John Huss, we are saying that he is a reformator of Catholic Church. The fact is he wanted to reform Catholic Church, but Catholic Church did not want to be reformed. He was especially criticizing indulgences. Indulgences were pieces of paper which you could buy from the Catholic priest. For example, if you have beaten somebody at the streets, you would go to the priest and you would say, hey, I've beaten a guy over there at the streets. I need forgiveness from God so I can come to heaven. And he would say, okay, it will cost you, let's say 20 or 50 silver coins. And he would pay this money to him. He would write the sin of beating the person at the streets is forgiven to you. And the guy was walking away thinking that now his sins are forgiven and he can come really to heaven. Which is a nonsense, of course. And John Huss, he knew it because he was himself a Catholic priest, but he was a priest who really believed in God. And he believed also in God, what God is saying in the Bible. And he knew that in the Bible, Jesus is saying that the person who asks for forgiveness, who believes in Jesus and who asks for forgiveness and does not hurt other people, does not do bad things, he can come to heaven. Not a person who is paying a lot of money to church. He knew that this cannot bring anyone to heaven. So he was criticizing this, which meant, of course, that the Catholic Church would not get so much money from people. And they got very angry with him, and they said to him that he should come over to Germany to explain more about his criticism. And actually the king, German King Sigmund, has promised him he can freely go there and he can freely return back also. But once he was in Germany, they said to him that either you will take back the criticism of Catholic Church or we will kill you, we will burn you. And he said he will not take it back because it's truth. So they made a big fire like this and they burned him. So this happened in the year 1415. In the year 1419, the followers of John Huss, who used to listen to his preaching, they gathered and they went over to the new town hall and they threw out of the window people, some of them who were loyal to King Sigmund. And King Sigmund, he got really angry. He sent here some 30,000 raiders and big, huge war started, which lasted some 17 years or even more. We talk about those wars because all around here used to be thick forests. So the cheapest way to make a house or a town would be make it out of wood. But he writes that Prague is made of lime and stone already at that time. He writes also that the best possibility to do business with this area would be to buy wheat from here, because wheat here was of a very high quality and it was very cheap. He writes also that they are producing here some nice leather products and some scarves, but those scarves, he writes, are of very bad quality, really thin, and they are not really big enough. You can't cover your neck with it properly, so he's not in favor of those scarves. But those scarves were actually not used to cover your body with. They were used instead of money. But of course, if you wanted to buy something really expensive, you would need a really huge pile of scarves. So in such a case, you would be using silver coins. For example, a male slave would cost you around 300 silver coins. A woman slave would cost you 500 silver coins. So the women, you are much more precious than the men. But I have to disappoint you. You can't buy such a souvenirs here anymore. Okay? In this area, there used to live different tribes, different Celtic tribes before. And one of the biggest tribes who lived in this area was the tribe of a Celtic tribe called a Boy. And the Germans who lived in this area, they would call this area Boyheim, which means the home of the boy. Big tribe of boy. Was called the palace of lords from Kunstadt and Podebrady. This house or palace was built at the end of 12th century, and already at that time it would have a wall around it and a protective tower. The rest of the protective tower you can see on the left side over here. Lords from Kunstadt and Podebrady. Later on, the house was bought by a grandfather of a future king of Bohemia, whose name was Jiří z Poděbrad. We'll talk about him later on. We will go down here. We will walk downstairs, so please be careful because those steps are rather steep. It's better if you hold to the railing so you will not fall down, okay? We'll go down. Welcome to our humble home. Here we are now at the ground floor of this wonderful palace. And you might think it's strange, I told you this is a ground floor, since we were walking downstairs, like to some cellar. But originally, this really used to be a ground floor. And the floor, which is here, is the original floor. And the level of the streets were at the level of this floor. The reason why it is underneath the earth now is because later on, in the middle of 13th century, the citizens of Prague decided to have a wall around Prague, and they made a really big wall, and part of it they made also deep ditch or trench. In some areas, they say it was up to 13 meters deep, not everywhere though, and somewhere 7 meters up to 20 meters wide, which means of course a huge volume of material had to be excavated. They had to dig it out and put it somewhere. Decided to put it into the streets. The reason was because Prague used to suffer from frequent floods, especially in the springtime when the ice was going. The ice had tendency to pile up sometimes and clog the flow of the water, so the water would be coming into the houses and the mud, and it's very unpleasant. I'm talking from my own experience. So the citizens of Prague decided to put this material into the streets. This means that the level of the Prague, in this area anyway, was in some areas 2 to 4 meters higher than it used to be originally. This floor is original, as I told you. The windows, those are not original. Neither the tables or chairs, they are not original either. But in the corner, you can see the place where they used to have a fireplace. And here, it's an original fireplace. Is there someone here from UK, from England? Oh yeah, Scotland. Okay. You too. You are tough people, yeah, UK. Very tough people. There's Englishmen or Scotland. And the medieval people, they were also really tough and strong people. So at the moment they would prepare their food, cook their food, and during winter time they would make it a little bit warmer. I say a little bit warmer because of course the firewood was a bit expensive, and these areas were just for the servants to live in, so they were not mixing with the wood, but they were strong people, just like these Englishmen, so it was enough for them to have one little fireplace here and another at the end of that house over there, and they would survive. Incredible, you know. I used to live in London about 40 years ago, and that was nice. So, just a little fireplace, where a meter from it would be a little bit warm, but the rest of the house was horribly cold. Incredible, and they survived. So they are just as tough as those medieval people used to be. You can see the pillar here, and this tells you that the house is built in the typical Roman style architecture. The stone here is looks like limestone, but it's merlite stone. And the merlite stone is much stronger than the limestone, yet it can be easily cut and polished. So many houses in Prague are actually built from the merlite stone. Now we can walk next door over here. Once again, the windows here are not original, but the door over there, that's the original door. You can notice it's not so wide, not so high, because during those medieval times, it was rather dangerous to live at that time. There were many fights going on, you know, people attacking one part of the Prague, sometimes attacking the other part of the Prague, and it was important that you could protect your house from living. example, if you have been visiting some castles outside of Prague, and you walking upstairs into some towers which had the spiral staircase, you might notice that the spiral staircase, if you are looking from underneath, it goes in the clockwise direction. And the reason is because for those nasty intruders who would be coming up there, it was very awkward for them, to fight their way with the sword like this around the corner. While for the people who were protecting it, it was very easy to stick the sword like this and protect itself. So the protective measures were very important. And those of you who are from England, we here in Czech Republic, we are saying that the Englishmen, they are riding on the wrong side of the road. Are you aware of it? Don't worry. You are riding on the correct side of the road. We are riding on the wrong side of the road. Because it was always much more safe to ride on the left side of the road. In case you will be meeting some other people riding against you, as I told you, the majority of people are right-handed. So just that it was good to have the staircase, spiral staircase in a clockwise direction. The same way here, if you were meeting some nasty guy on the horse or with a car against you, you could easily take your sword, protect yourself, and protect people behind you. While if you would be riding on the right side of the road and you would be meeting those nasty people there, it would be very awkward for you to protect yourself and other people. And so those things do matter quite a lot. I know from my own experience because I used to do fencing before, and even fencing against left-handed guy is not so easy. Behind the door over there used to be a well before. And this well was used for a few hundred years, and they would be getting water for drinking, for cooking, for everything basically from there. But up there in the yard, they used to have animals, horses, some chickens, many different animals. And slowly but surely, all that shit and pee from these animals would be sinking through the earth till it reached the well over there, and the water did not be sinking. In reality, to drink that water would be rather dangerous because it was crawling with the butters. The same thing happened, by the way, in the London area too. So at that time, they stopped using it for getting the water. They started to use it as a garbage bin instead. For example, if they have broken some ceramic vessel, they would throw it inside the water. If they had some other garbage they didn't want to use anymore, they would throw it into the well. And our archaeologists, they are very happy about this happening because nowadays they can check layer after layer how people in this house used to live before. So just in case you have some old mobile phone you would like to throw away, throw it into some well, because future generation of archaeologists, a few hundred years later on, they will be very happy, to see your mobile phone and check SMS messages and which restaurant did you prefer and so on. So you could do something for the future archaeologists. So the protective measures were very important, and you could see it also at the door over here. By the way, here is a sign how far the water reached during the biggest flood in the year 2002. It was reaching up to here. Once it's narrow, so it would be easy to protect it. And the you notice that underneath the pillar there are another sort of stones than up here. The same thing you can see on the wall over here. The stones from here to downwards are different than the stones from here upwards. The reason is because they wanted to make it more deep, to have a more space here. So they dug out the floor and they changed it also to have a level of this floor approximately the same level like floor over there. At the corner once again you might notice that there is a place where they used to have a fireplace, a chimney, a fireplace to be able to cook the food and to get it a little bit warmer. Also, this house I told you, the future king of Bohemia used to live here. His name is Jiří z Podebrady, and he lived here from the year 1450 till year 1458. What's interesting is that he was elected to be a king, even though he had no royal background whatsoever. He was just riding within the military ranks. Already at the age of 14 years, he was already fighting in Hussite wars. He was actually injured at that time. Maybe that was the reason why later on he turned to be have rather pacifistic ideas and didn't like wars so much. Actually, people are saying that he might be the first person who talked about the possibility of having a European Union here in Europe. So he has sent messengers to Spain and to England to negotiate the possibility of having a European committee which could solve possible disputes in a peaceful way rather than having wars. But as you know from the history, that didn't succeed very well. So there were wars even after that. But Jiří z Podebrady, he was a really good king, he had a good heart, and he was good concerning economy and knowledge of economical things. So during his time, the Bohemia was rather prospering. And over there are wooden steps which are leading to protective tower, but we are not allowed to go there. Those areas, those premises, some movies were also shot. Over there you might see some pictures from that time. Here you can see the pictures from the movies which were shot in here. All around you there are such areas where actually underneath the earth are Roman-style roofs that majority of them are not accessible for the public because those areas suffer with the floods, and it's a really expensive thing to get it in order so it would be safe. This area was taken care of because the city of Prague was paying for it, but the majority of the houses which has such areas, medial areas, are not repaired. Only few of them you could visit. Now you can go upstairs and wait for me out there. You can wait for me outside of the restaurant. Before. horses for sure. I don't know, the cows also. This sounds like this might be a cow from the 12th century, which is perfectly mummified. I'm not sure. Anyway, at this or beer house, you could later on, those of you who like beer, you could come here and you can taste 100 different sorts of beer. But in such a case, I would suggest you will bring someone with you who does not drink beer, so we can carry you home afterwards. The Czech people are drinking beer quite a lot. When we were talking about the well, which they stopped using for the water later on, in those times they started to produce more and more beer than they did before. And they say that the beer was so cheap that even poor people could afford to drink the beer. Those of them who did not drink a beer, usually they wouldn't live so long. So the same thing happened in London, by the way. And that might be the reason why here in Czech Republic, this nation is on the top list of those most beer-consuming nations in the whole world. I think so. We go out here. Have something to be on, but they say those stones are there to protect houses and walls from big wagons which were driving through this narrow street. Because you can imagine that in the middle of the 13th century, they did not have so many policemen who would be equipped with this alcohol measuring device that you blow into. So in case somebody was driving with a big wagon through this narrow street and he was a bit drunk, you know, he would be really making sure that he would be riding in the middle, because in the medieval times to repair a wheel was a very expensive matter, because only few carpenters were able to make a wheel or to repair a wheel, and it would cost them a lot of money. Now we will go in this direction. Destroying human lives. They had several concentration camps here in Czechoslovakia. Anyone could end up there, especially those people who are fighting against fascists would be dying in concentration camps, communistic concentration camps, especially those pilots who were protecting England during World War II. They were among the first ones to end up in concentration camps. The communists were also good in destroying buildings. They knocked down some 162 churches and many other houses, and they did not take care of those old houses which you can see around here properly. Here you can see the picture of the street we will be walking through. This is the way how this street used to look during the communist time. Actually, they had to put wooden logs like this to prevent the houses from collapsing one on another. Yeah? So you can see the difference now when we walk the same street here. Here is a beer hall by a golden tiger. And President Václav Havel, he used to come here and drink his beer over here. Built in 1719 by the architect Mr. Fischer, and the owner of this house, or this palace, wanted to buy those houses here. He wanted to knock them down and make a square here, so people could admire this beautiful palace from longer distance. But the owners didn't want to sell, so the houses are still standing here. During the Baroque time, the symmetry was something very, very important. So you might see that there are statues over here, and there are statues on the other side of the house. There is a door over here, and there is door also on the other side of that house to have this symmetry. During Baroque time, it was very important. And just as just as we have now today, fake news, during Baroque time, they used to have fake doors and fake windows. So you will see when we will be passing by the door over there, there are no hinges and no handle because it's just a fake door. You can follow me. See there is a top of tower which is a weather registering tower. For 271 years they are registering every day temperature, how much rain is coming, how much snow and everything. In a year 1648 the Swedish army attacked the castle on the other side of the river. They managed to get a hold of the castle. They got all the precious paintings and books. They have stolen it, they brought it to Sweden, and they never returned it back to us. And the Swedish army tried to get across Charles Bridge and to get hold of whole Prague. At that time, the students from this university would take out their swords, and they were defending Charles Bridge quite successfully. For 3 months there were fightings going on, and finally the Swedish army gave up. The war was over anyway, and they would go away because the students managed to protect the Charles Bridge. Not only students, the butchers and other people were protecting it. The Prague received into its sign a hand holding a sword. In this area, there used to be a true fight, and even more the flood in 1890. That flood was so strong that they actually broke Charles Bridge apart. They had to repair it. And therefore the town hall decided they will knock down those old houses and they will instead build new houses in a French style Art Nouveau, like the house over here. So many of those houses